to be changing out the ignition coil on my DR leaf vacuum. So this is the ignition coil that I'm going to be replacing, and what I'm going to have to do is take the top cover off of the motor. This is the 223 cc engine, so most small engines are going to be pretty much the same process. So first thing I have to do is take out the 4 bolts that hold the cover on. Okay, all 4 bolts are out of the cover. Okay, so there we go, cover's off. Now I have a wire right here that's connected to my on-off switch, so I'm just going to leave that hooked up rather than unhooking the switch and all that. That's your ignition coil. The wires that run for the coil are going to be fun to trace, but again, 5/16. Okay, bolts are out, and now the coil is loose. So I have to chase my spark plug wire and the other wire. You have to this one goes to the spark plug, and then this one will go to the on-off switch, the power switch. So. My way. It appears that I'm going to have to remove my carburetor to get that cable out that hooks onto the spark plug. So that's a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. Now hopefully I won't have to completely remove this. I'm just gonna slide it away a little ways to make room for the coil wire, or the spark plug wire, to come through. So I'm gonna have to take off my vacuum wire, or my vacuum hose right here. Okay, and then that will let this whole cover come off. This is the vacuum hose I had to disconnect. Okay, now can I get it out? Hey, there we go. Okay. So as you can see, I had to move a couple things to be able to get it off, but that wasn't terrible. So now let's feed the wires back into the proper places, and we can start putting this thing back together. Okay, so need to come through here. Okay, that's back on. Get my cable back in place, like so. Gotta push my fuel line back down into here. My fuel line is back in place. I have my spark plug wire ran. I still have to run this cable, but that's okay for right now. I'm going to go ahead and get my carburetor back together because I don't want to get anything, any particles of dust or anything like that inside. So when I go to slide this on, I want to put this vacuum hose back on here, and then the whole assembly will slide back on. So I'm going to get on the other side so I can see that better. Okay, got that vacuum hose seated properly. Everything looks good here. It's not a vacuum hose, it's a breather hose. I don't know why I keep saying vacuum hose, but anyway. Okay, there we go. Now we can get our cable back in place. There we go. So what I did is I ran it over and then I actually flipped it in behind the dust cover. So that worked okay. Now I'll hook that back up, but at first I need to get this coil. Get this coil in place before my fingers freeze. So now those are close. What I want to do, I'm going to bring this coil in until it's touching, and then back it off about the thickness of a business card. Okay, that's just hand tight. Turn my flywheel. Okay, it's not touching, but it's really close. And I'll tighten those down. There's the wire that it actually plugs into, and then they all sit inside of a little wire clip. Okay, so now that's back on. Now you can tell when it's back in place because it'll kind of snap into place or pop into place. Those little wire connections. So okay, everything's back inside that clip where it was at. Okay, cover's back in place. It engages with the flywheel. Let's get all of our bolts started, and then we will come back, and after they're started, we'll come back and tighten them and make sure that our cover's positioned properly. Now on this bolt, make sure that you have the ground wire for the switch in between the cover and the engine block on the bolt. There's a ground wire there that has to be connected for all of this to work. So okay, I'm not going to tighten anything down yet. I'm just getting it close. So make sure all my wires are in the right spot. All right, we're all back together. Everything's tightened up.